Hi, I'm Nancy Lynn Ruth with unblockresults.com, and today I feel like talking about imposter syndrome. So, oh, I don't know what's going on with Facebook Live, but here we are. I think I'm on. I think you heard me. I am going to talk about imposter syndrome because it's shown up lately. If you don't know what it is, imposter syndrome is the experience of feeling like you're not as competent as others see you. And I will tell you, I had my own experience with that in law school. I remember going to classes for the first few weeks at Harvard Law School, and I would walk into a class, and then I was in this section. There were four sections in your first year, and there's like 120, 140 people. I don't remember what the number was, but a huge number of people in the classroom. And I would look around, and I would see all these really great people who clearly knew what they were doing. And I would think to myself, I'm a total idiot. What am I doing here? I don't belong. They're going to find out. They're going to haul me away, get me out of here. Which, by the way, actually did happen. Not to me, but there was somebody who, when they applied to go to Harvard Law School, he they did a fraudulent application, and in fact, um, he became one of the professor's favorite students because he would always talk up, he would say things, he would be engaged, he'd ask questions. And then I think it was like a couple months in, the administration found out what was going on, that he didn't belong there. He cheated to get in, basically, and they removed him. Now, this didn't happen while I was there, but it was the fear of everybody I ever talked to at law school that they were going to get found out. Now, as far as I know, none of us actually were applied with fraudulent information, but we did have this feeling like I don't belong here, um, and they're going to figure it out. I'm not as good as everybody else. The truth was, as we each went through the first few months, and we didn't make total fools of ourselves when speaking in class. We did a paper that actually made sense. We got decent grades on our tests. The indicia that we were okay there. As that came in, we started to feel better. But at the beginning, it felt totally like everyone else is okay, not me. And it was interesting. I didn't realize at first. I thought it was just me, but as I talked to more and more people, I realized that most everyone I talked to had that same experience. I eventually started joking that 90% of us figured that we had got in by mistake. So anyway, um, that was my experience with it. I've also seen imposter syndrome walk in the door with a number of my clients. Occasionally, they even recognize it as imposter syndrome. I had one client who came up to me and said, I have imposter syndrome. Can you help with that? And so I took her on and we worked on it. And it was really interesting. I mean, she had graduated at the top of her class. She went on to get an advanced degree in her field, which was helping kids with autism. She was very excited about what she was going to do to help those kids. But when she came to start working with me, what she was doing was volunteering in an elementary school in their office doing admin work. And kudos to her for doing that. I think volunteers are essential these days, especially as our schools are not funded enough to have the basics covered. She was doing that, which was a good thing in the community, but it was not her highest best use at all. She had all this training, all this ability to help these autistic kids and their families get through something that was so needed, to learn and to grow and develop the minds in ways that only a certain apparently, I'm told, only a certain period in a child's developing brain can you get the benefits that you need. And so she would do that work, but she wasn't there doing it. And there just aren't enough therapists out there doing that right now. And I forget what kind of therapy that is, but it's a special kind of working occupational. I don't know what it is. Anyway, she could have been helping these kids that needed it so much and their families, but instead she was filing paper. Because every time she thought about moving forward with her therapy work, or going to work for somebody else, but doing that work, she stopped herself. She would tell herself things like, well, I'm not that good, or there's people who are so much better than me, or they've got more experience, which it's true. There are lots of people with more experience, but it didn't mean that they were better than her. But that's what she told herself. And on top of all that, she was struggling with other people's expectations of her. The professors had pretty much told her they expected her to do big things in the world. No pressure there. And her family, most of them had not had the kind of education she had. She'd gone to high school and done great work and gotten an advanced degree, which they hadn't done. They pretty much looked at her as she was going to be a rising star in the world. She's going to be quoted in the New York Times. She's going to give keynote addresses around the world. They expected huge things from her. And her reaction was to shut down. It's like, I'm not that good. Oh, they expect something and I can't deliver it. So she shut down, but the longer that she waited to start her business, to get out there with her therapy work, the harder it was to just get going. So by the time she came to me, it'd been a couple of years since getting her degree. And she was like, I don't know what to do. So we started with tapping on those things she was telling herself. And then we tapped on other people's expectations. And as we lowered that noise in her brain, she was able to go start and take action. She started small. She worked with a couple of families for very reduced rates, just basically to know that she could do it. And as she started to see the kids and the families seeing results, she felt like she could then step up in a bigger way. But before that, she was just so shut down by the imposter syndrome that she wasn't able to do anything. And that is just such a problem in the world these days. Women who seem to suffer from imposter syndrome more than men, I don't know, I haven't seen that anywhere, but it seems that way to me from what I've heard from women over what I've heard from men. Women are needed in leadership positions now more than ever, and they're holding themselves back now more than ever. Imposter syndrome is one of the ways they're holding themselves back. But honestly, our world needs the kind of change that women can bring right now. And I'll go on a soapbox here. The male dominant world that we've been living in has brought us to a place where too many people are left behind, where there's too much separation, us versus them, and things get pushed, people get shoved to the side, ideas get lost, we get stuck. And I believe that women as leaders are going to bring more balance. They're going to open up possibilities and growth from the old way of working. It's going to change things. The old way of working, it had really shut things down. I think with more women leaders, we're going to see a shifts in all over the way. Well, that didn't come out in English. Shifts all over the place in all sorts of ways because women do things differently. So that's my soapbox. And I wanted to tell you, if you're a woman who could and should be a leader and you know who you are, or you maybe think you should be, but imposter syndrome keeps jumping up and has you questioning whether you're really good enough to whatever it is, you got to change that. You have to take the action anyway. I mean, that's the way to deal with imposter syndrome. Take action. Do it even though you don't get it right the first or the second or the third time. Do it even though you never get it perfect. It's okay. Keep taking the action that you feel like you're supposed to be taking here until you realize you're able to do whatever it is. But if you're like my client and you feel like you can't even get started because of, oh, who am I? I'm not that good. I'm not as good as they think I am kind of message, then, or if you're starting but you're dragging your feet and you're not getting where you need to be, then tap. Oh, please tap. Just tap. You know me and tapping, but tapping, if you tap on the things that you're telling yourself, like I did with my client, or maybe you're procrastinating taking some action, you can just tap on procrastinating. If you go to my home site, you can, my homepage has a free video on tapping for procrastination. You can sign up and get that. Tap on that, or tap on feeling like you aren't good enough to step up. Tap on whatever is coming up and getting in your way to release that imposter syndrome. Okay, because the world needs you. We need you out there doing. Okay, so if you've noticed that imposter syndrome is slowing you down, would you put it in the comments? I'd like to hear what other people think about this, if they're seeing what I'm seeing. And please, 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 if that's you, know that you're not alone. And it doesn't have to stop you. Okay. That's my big soapbox for the day. I want to see you step up to where you're meant to be. So maybe next time I'll talk about where I think this imposter syndrome in women particularly has been coming from. Yeah, maybe I'll talk about that next time. But in the meantime, I wish you a very happy tapping.